Hi guys, Graham here, and welcome to the fourth episode of Traditional Flash. What I'm going to be doing today is something a bit different. I'm going to be showing you how I stain my sheets of flash with coffee. I've had a couple of requests, people asking me to do this, so here it is, and I hope it helps you out. What I've got set up is just some cling film, my sheets, some newspaper and a hairdryer. I'll show you all that in a second. So the first sheet I've got is just some daggers, and I've got some panthers as well. Right, so to begin with, got everything set up, hairdryer on the right, some paper next to the cling film, and here's my coffee, which is Nescafe Gold. You can use anything you want, that's just what I use. I put about 3 tablespoons of that, level tablespoons, into about a third of a mug of water, and these I'm just showing you. I just use them to hold the cling film in place. I just had them lying around, so I just use them. But basically, now what you need to do is just lay out some coffee on the cling film. Just spread it about a bit. It doesn't need to be exact, just so it fills a decent area. Don't use too much, because otherwise it will just go everywhere. So yeah, place a sheet on top and push it down. And what will happen is it will spread out underneath the sheet. You want to give it quite a good press and get it to spread about so it covers the whole bottom of the sheet. Obviously you can't see what you're doing. But the reason I do this is because if you lay the sheet down on the cling film and then pour coffee over the top, it all runs underneath and the back gets just as wet as the front does, and you end up using a lot more coffee. So this is just like a much cleaner way of doing it, really. But it's personal preference. You can kind of do it however you want. So that's pretty much covered. Just make sure you get all the edges, press it down right into the corners. You want a good covering, and that's what it looks like with one coat on it. So just put it over here and start drying it. It's going to run and you're going to get patches in it, but I think that looks good personally. I try to keep it quite neat, you know, as neat as I can, so it's just like a wash over it without it being patchy. But even when I do that, it still comes out patchy, so it looks good. So try and keep it neat, but it will still come out patchy and give you that effect. So yeah, that's what it looks like with one coat on it. But I didn't think it looked dark enough. I always give my sheets 2 to 3 coats, depending on how dark I want them. Usually 2, with a really concentrated coffee like this. I'd give the coffee a good mix as well, because you don't want lumps in it. Because if you get a really dark patch of coffee on it, it will just look like you've obviously used coffee and it's not actually aged. So yeah, second coat's on now. Pretty much, just get it into all the corners again. Give it. I'm turning it to get the coffee to run to where I want it. It'll always run to the edges as well, which I'll do a close-up of later on and show you exactly what I do. I just smudge it out with my finger, basically. You can smudge the coffee around with your finger, and it will still dry pretty even, because where you're using the hairdryer, you can sort of blow it about and it kind of evens it out. And the paper will warp quite a lot, but it doesn't really matter. Just flip it over and dry the back like I did just then. That kind of helps it warp back the right way sometimes. And there you have it. That's got 2 coats on it, and it looks a lot better. So here's a close-up of the coffee staining. Just ignore that drawing on the back, that's just something random. This sheet, by the way, the last sheet was done how I usually do it with the Copic markers. If you watched my videos before, you'll know that I always use Copic markers, and that was just done in the normal way. This sheet with the panthers, I did some traditional spit shading, and if you want me to do a video on that, if I get enough requests for it, I'll do it. I might just do it anyway, actually. But let me know if you want to see it, and I'll get it done sooner. Basically, what I'll tell you in a sec. That's like the 1 coat, single coat, and do a close up of the drying. So yeah, spit shading is where you actually use ink and a brush, and you just paint the areas of ink in where you want the black to be, and you actually use spit like from your mouth. You just like put the brush in your mouth and get a bit of saliva and then blend it out. Sounds gross, but that's how they used to do it. That is actually the technique they used to use years ago. So yeah, I'm just drying this now, and like as you can see, I'm smudging it about as I go, just getting it even. Oh, and when I press down on the sheet, when it warps, I press down on it and just pressing like areas of black or colour where it's not gonna, the fingerprints aren't gonna notice. So that's with one coat on it, and I'll do another coat, and it's getting pretty dark now because the coffee, as I'm doing 2 sheets at the same time, I usually only do 1, but as I'm doing 2, the sheet that I used before has soaked up the water, which makes the pigment left on the cling film darker, because it's not soaking up all the coffee, but it is soaking up the moisture, so it's becoming more concentrated. So this sheet will be a little bit darker, but I'm not really too bothered about that. I think they kind of look cool when they're all stuck up on the wall and they're a very slightly different shades of brown. So just adds a bit more of an authentic feel to them. So yeah, I left some of the coffee on the edges of that one. I do little different things on each sheet, sorry. And yeah, it's given some kind of like border sort of smudginess to it, and I think that looks good. So here's both the sheets, and that you can see they're really warped. That does happen, don't worry about it. Just bend them back into shape. You can also iron them, so if you want to, you just like lay a towel down and use an ironing board. You can lay another sheet of paper over the top of it as well and just iron it. But don't iron on the front, only iron on the back. And yeah, so here's the sort of close-up of how they look. As you can see, the Copic mark is smudged down the side there. That's just where it's got wet and leached out into the paper a little bit. Some of the colours have bled a little bit, and that's why I did the spit shading on the other one, because I noticed that was happening. It doesn't really notice, but as you can see with the spit shading, with the paint, the brush and the ink, it doesn't fade at all. It just stays where it is. The colours for Copics are fine, you know, they work great and they're easier than using inks, but for the black shading I might start doing this more from now on. And here's the finished sheets, and up on the wall with some others that I've done. You may recognise them from previous videos, and yeah, it all looks good when it's stuck up on the wall and they're all uniform stained. And the daggers I'm going to be doing in the next video, so stay tuned for that. I'll be showing you how I painted them and drew them up. So yeah, I hope this video helped and answered the questions for the people who requested this video. If there's anything else you want to know, just stick it in a comment and I'll try to reply to every comment I get. And if this video helped you out, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. And other than that, thanks for watching.